At DSW, we ask the important questions, like, what shoes are you going to wear? Whether you're prepping for wedding season, festival season, or just planning the ultimate vacay, the right shoes can make or break an RSVP. So own the moment. You've got big plans, and we've got just the shoes. At the perfect price, of course. Get ready to get ready with Designer Shoe Warehouse. Head to your DSW store or dsw.com today and let us surprise you.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+. Plus.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're gonna crack this case and prove we're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
You are...
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream team.
And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home.
You're clearly working it.
Zootopia 2, now available on Disney Plus, rated PG.
Hi, everyone. We're back again for another episode of Justice for Lonene Rogers. And today we have a special guest. We have Lonene's sister, Glene Raffle, with us. Hi, Glene.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I mean, I wish we were talking under better circumstances, but we're very happy to meet you. Your niece here is a pretty amazing woman. And
yes, she is.
And we've been learning a lot about her and her fight for her mother's justice. I can't imagine what that feels like for you being the sister. So why don't we just talk a little bit about, why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself and what was your relationship with your sister?
We were very close. Lonnie was 6-7 years older than me. Pretty much one of my roles in life was interpreting for her, speaking for her. And then when I moved to Toledo, Allison took over, I guess. There were many things, like hooking up utilities or, whatever they wanted. It was difficult for both of them, being handicapped in that way, deafness.
Yeah.
For Bud and Lonene, you mean?
Yes, for Bud and Lonnie both.
Okay. Why don't we talk about what was Lonnie like when she was younger? She was so beautiful. The photos and the videos that we've seen, she was such a pretty woman.
Thank you. She was. Lonnie was a very happy person. She made you feel comfortable around her. I believe my parents raised her to be more confident and, that not to let the deafness be a handicap. She went to a regular high school. They did have a deaf class, but, she did many classes with the hearing students.
She seemed like, from some of the videos that I've seen of her, she really had a personality. It comes through. Like I would never have thought she was, handicapped or deaf in any way by looking at any of those videos. She just was a bubble, like she just zooming around there. So what was she like? I mean, what did she want to do with her life?
She wanted to be a teacher. I'm going back to high school years and right after high school. Excuse me. She started at Edinburgh State University. And she wanted very much to be able to teach, deaf children. Yeah. And I think she would have been wonderful. She would have been good at anything she tried. She had just a natural enthusiasm.
You could see it. It really shone through. I mean, a lot of people always say, oh, they were a bright light or whatnot. But you could really see that with Lonene, that she was. And that people were drawn to her.
Yes.
So when she moved out, how old were you? You were younger, yeah? 7 years younger. So did you know Bud or did you know him?
Oh, heavens, yes. I was about, I think 14 or 15 when they got married. And at first, Nobody was crazy about Bud. When I say nobody, our family. He seemed a little bit beneath her. Lonnie was very outgoing as far as hearing people, deaf people. She would adjust to anything. And Bud pretty much used his handicap as an excuse. I think he was maybe not jealous is the word, but she would fit in so easily, and it was hard for him. He just wasn't as personable.
Were you guys surprised that she married him?
No, really not, because I'll tell you, Lonnie went all through high school with a boy named Bill, and she figured that they would get married. Well, at the end of her senior year, they decided to break up, and Bill ended up marrying her best friend, which I think Lonnie figured. Billy was like, they were almost in competition with each other. Bill was very outgoing too. And I think she was probably devastated deep inside when that happened. Lonnie wanted to get married and have children. And I think she saw herself, Bud was better than nothing, maybe. That's not nice. Well, that's kind of the way it was, I think.
No, it sounds like you said that she settled.
Yes. Yes.
Was the other boyfriend, was he deaf as well?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so there was,
Yes.
I would imagine there was a limit of pool of available bachelors who were deaf at her high school or in that area.
Yes. But this was a high school in Youngstown, Ohio. And there was that group of her deaf friends all were educated like she was, mixed with hearing people. Where Bud went to school at, I think it's the Western Pennsylvania School for the Deaf.
Yes.
Where he was sent away, and his whole world revolved around sign language. And that Lonnie didn't learn sign language till she was in high school.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
The classes the teachers that she had that were exclusively with the deaf thought that when children are deaf and only learn sign language, they won't learn to speak. So that was mostly Lonnie's education in lip reading and how to speak as clearly as she could.
Sure. So it sounds like that school tried to mainstream her and prepare her for society, instead of just isolating her and leaning on her handicap.
Yes, very, very much so. And Bud was the exact, now we didn't know that then. Bud always seemed to have a resentment towards people that could hear. It was like, here's my world that's silent and your world that you can hear. And he didn't like me. He always thought people were talking about him. And
Paranoid.
Yes. Since he couldn't hear it, he would assume they were saying something about him. I think he tried to fit in, but it just never, he had a chip on his shoulder and everybody kind of knew it.
Yeah. So you were 14 when they got married. Did you spend any time with your sister and Bud after they got married?
All the time. I don't know how my younger sister Maya, when she was alive, we stayed at their house all the time. When there was a weekend, we were over. I don't know why Bud would put up with us so willingly. That had to be a pain, but he never complained.
Yeah. Was there any kind of warning signs that the relationship wasn't going well while you were there?
Yes. When Bud started stealing, Lonnie was probably the most honest person I ever knew, in good ways and in bad. She'd tell you what she thought. And if it hurt your feelings, that was, that's on you.
Where do you see that?
What?
I don't know where else you would see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
Yes. It was easier though. She was older than me and I had to take it, Allison. But I forgot where I was going with it. Oh,
The warning signs.
our dog had puppies, and Bud wanted one of the puppies and took it. My younger sister and I were walking up to our grandparents, which we walked right past their house, and I could hear the dog. Bud was yelling, and the dog was howling, and he was beating the dog. And I opened up the door, and the dog ran out, and I said to Bud, "That's it. You know, you're not beating this dog." And as I turned around to go back home, taking the dog, he knocked me down and choked me and said that, you know, "Let go of the dog, I'll kill you."
How old are you?
About 15. And I yelled at my sister Maya, "Go get Grandpa." And
Who was across the street, like
who
kind
was
of
across the street.
Yeah.
And by then, Bud got up off of me, took the dog, and I was in tears. We ran up to my grandparents, and a little bit later, Lonnie came up, and she said, "Bud's sorry." Bud waited outside the door, and "Bud's sorry, but it was my fault." She said, "You shouldn't have made him mad." Oh, well, okay then. Lonnie and I didn't speak for probably a couple of weeks. As young as I was, I thought hitting her younger sister, me, that was cause for divorce in my small mind. But eventually Bud did come in and said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. My brain exploded." And eventually I came around. But to get back to your question, when it started, all of these things were adding up, I think, for Lonnie. Now, by that time, she had 2 little kids to think of. Bud made good money. He had a factory job and was a very rider money-wise.
Okay.
But he would steal, rob close friends. Bud was part of the volunteer fire department and loved it. Had rigged up a flashing light. So when the fire drill would go off, the light would flash, and both of my uncles and many family members, close family friends, were part of this. And Bud was always one, to help. Which is why it was so. I know Allison had talked to you before about going on a search for Lonnie. He sat in a window and watched while we all were pretty much going crazy.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that day. Let's talk about when you discovered that your sister was missing after that. So can you kind of paint us a picture of like where you were and what did you do?
Well, Lonnie disappeared the night of, it was Tuesday, January 6th into the 7th. My mom and dad called me. I was in Toledo on that Wednesday, January 7th, and said, "Glene, Lonnie disappeared." And well, what do you mean she disappeared? And keeping in mind through all of this, it was a blizzard conditions down there. Nobody was good. They had a fire meeting and things were being canceled. Blizzard, the ground was frozen from, the past month of bad weather. And there was nowhere for her to go. She wouldn't just go walking down the road. If Lonnie was going anywhere, she'd have gone to my grandparents. But we
across
didn't
the
know.
Street, right across the street.
Right across the street. That was a given. My grandparents never even locked their doors back then. But again, we didn't know what happened. My father and my grandfather, that would be my mother's father, broke into the apartment immediately and everything, I know Allison has told you, everything was pristine condition. Where you would think if, Bud said Lonnie took off, went with her boyfriend, and we didn't think that happened, but you're so in shock, and took the money that I know Allison had told you about.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing. The apartment wasn't considered a crime scene. So, and they did think the first detective was John Marin, and he believed something bad must have happened because Lonnie, nobody would have went in a blizzard. My uncle plowed the roads, worked for the state. There was nobody out, but that's what he said happened. And at first, you just hope she comes back. We all knew she would not have left without her children or her purse and her hearing aid, car keys. Now, she couldn't have taken her car if she wanted. It would have been snowed in. It was a Ford Mustang. So, she wouldn't have used her car. Now, Bud could get around. He had the 4-wheel drive Bronco or Blazer.
Bronco.
Yeah.
So I came down I didn't go Wednesday because of the weather. I went down Thursday, which would have been January 8th, the next day.
And how old were you? How old were you
Pardon?
at the time? How old were you at the time?
23.
Okay.
With your own child.
Yes. Now, at that time, Jason was 3 years old, same age as Aaron. The boys are a few months apart. I left Jason here with my aunt and uncle, knowing that I was going into a chaotic atmosphere. And chaotic it was. We were, a couple of my uncles wanted to beat the shit out of him. And, we kept saying, we can't do that. We can't do that. And not really to jump ahead, but when do you start thinking that she might be dead? And soon we thought she couldn't be alive. But you keep hoping, and then, I would feel guilty, like I'm giving up on her, and I would never give up on her.
It's so awful.
It was awful. And it was awful that the children, Lonnie and Bud lived right at Little's Corners there. My aunt and uncle, Elmer and Becky, and my uncle Carl and his wife, that's where the children were used to being. They barely knew Bud's sister, Laura. And when Bud took the children away, they got to see their grandparents, and that hardly ever, and me, hardly ever. Now, Bud did allow me, we were wondering what we were going to do with the children. Bud had to go to work, and I asked Bud, can I take the kids to Toledo with me? That way you can go to work, try to find Lonnie. And he said yes. And I hurriedly took the kids to Toledo. I wanted to get them away from that.
Yeah.
That horrible, horrible situation. And I had them about, 2 or 3 days. And Allison had just taken a bath, and I was combing her wet hair, and Bud came to the door in Toledo. And I answered it, and he said, I'm taking my kids. And I'm saying, Bud, what happened? What's wrong? It was dark out. I don't remember how late. And the kids are all upset, screaming and crying and hanging on me. Bud's very rough, hauling them out. And I dialed the police. I don't know if it was 911 then. And he got in the car and peeled out, very angry. And he had a 4-hour drive ahead of him.
Ugh.
The police could do nothing. I just wanted to calm things down.
So he came in very volatile.
Yes, very angry.
Did he say why he was angry? What triggered him?
He kept repeating, my father broke into his apartment. And I said, Bud, you know, we were scared. Where's Lonnie? You know, that's why they did that. But he said he thought I was trying to kidnap the kids. And just got, and then I called Bud's mother and was crying to her saying that, you know, he pulled out of here and the kids, and Bud's mother always said, you don't make Buddy mad. Don't make Buddy mad. And we were making him mad.
Yeah.
What a bully.
So it sounded like the gaslighting started right from the get-go.
Oh, yes. A couple of times, either 1 or 2 Christmases, he allowed them to come, and one summer, but I had to promise we'd buy school clothes, you know, clothes for the kids. He would allow us to do that. But, and again, the whole time, he can't lose custody of the kids because of his handicap. He had locked them, well, not locked them, taken them to I call it a farmhouse. Allison was probably 8 and went to a neighbor's. You correct me if I'm wrong, honey, because I'm not sure. Went to a neighbor and said, we're hungry. And my dad is gone. And, you know, we don't have any lights. They called in children's services, called me. I get my fat ass in the car and down I go. It was a hearing. It wasn't a deposition. I forget what it was called. In front of a magistrate, trying to get the children. And they explained at the time they had a poodle dog. And Bud was not allowed to own a dog. They took it to the Humane Society. I don't know what they did with it. But he was not allowed to have a dog. But they explained that the children, poor Bud, his wife left him, went off with another man. And here this poor man is struggling.
What?
And they got another chance. And I'm just flipping out at that time.
What?
So they wouldn't let him own a dog, but he could basically
But he could abuse his children, not feed them, keep them in a house with no lights.
Well, Bud didn't know, they said. But Bud didn't know you weren't allowed to starve children.
Oh my God.
It was crazy. It was crazy. And I probably looked like a crazy woman.
No, I would have been the same way. I would have been going nuts. Forget it. Oh, Glene. Oh my God.
So what happened after that when you had a long drive back after you weren't able to get Allison and her brother Aaron?
Trying to talk. I tried to communicate with Bud's mother. His sister Laura is the one that took the children most of the time. She wouldn't. I did go to visit them at their house and wanted to take the kids, you know, to McDonald's and Laura said, absolutely not. She wouldn't even let me in the house. We had to visit outside. I have nothing to say about her.
Strange way to behave about the mother of your brother's children's sister.
Yes.
I mean, that's your sister-in-law by marriage. That's a very strange way to behave. If, you know, Lonene had been really just left of her own will, why would you behave like that? Why would you behave like that? You would never behave like that. That's just right there says to me they knew what he did.
Right.
So during that time, that the amount of time that you were able to see them, what was the time period that you got to see them? How much did you see them until she was a teenager?
Not often. The most we had, the most visits when they were younger, the more we did, and not only my parents, you know, lived in the area. And anytime the police would bother Bud blamed our family, you know, that we were the ones pursuing the police to do something and convince them that Lonnie would not have left without her children or without her hearing, you know, her personal things that would not have happened.
Yeah.
There was a police officer who told me that every time they printed an article in the newspaper, he would deliver it to his mailbox or apartment door or whatever. So he probably thought you did it.
Well, I think you also said something interesting, Glene. You said that one of the police officers in the early days knew that this wasn't a woman who left her children, that something terrible had happened.
Again, then the weather had a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't have got very far on foot.
No.
So we, you know, through the years, we're talking 45 years, we've had police that were not interested in the case and did as little or nothing. And there are ones that were very interested and did what they could. We've had a mixture. And I'm sure no policeman wants to take a 40-year case and try to solve it. That had to be a thorn in somebody's side. But
yeah.
Once you get somebody that's interested in it.
Yeah. When was the first time you reconnected with Allison when she became an adult?
Oh, we were in contact, not close contact, but I went to, when you were at the college, I went and spent the night in your dorm. I think you were at Edinburgh then.
I did go there, yeah.
Yeah. But
I know you called a lot, like well, maybe not a lot, but you called, you know, from time to time when I lived with Dinsmore's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Judy was very good at, you know, keeping our side of the family aware.
Yeah. Well, that must have been a relief for you when she got rescued by her teacher and got away from Bud. How did that make you feel? Talk us through that.
Oh, at first with Judy, I was jealous because I wanted them, but Allison was much better off than with Bud's sister. And they were, Judy was acquainted with Mrs. Osborne that had Aaron. She had taken Aaron in and out of her home. So I just have nothing good to say about their family. They knew his secrets and what he had done prior.
Yeah. Did you know anything? Did you know anything prior that he was involved with other than the stealing and stuff? What did you know?
I don't know when we found out. He had a car. It was a Road Runner. I don't know if you, Chrysler maybe. Anyway, that he decided he was going to sell, and he put it up on my grandfather's property. Somebody wanted to buy it, and come to find out he didn't have a title to it. And as it were, he confessed that he had stolen it. My parents were very upset and called his parents and said, come get this car out of, you know, my grandfather's, off of his property. And I don't remember I don't know what they did with the car, but it was moved. And then there would be little things like he had broken into some woman's car at a plaza. And when the woman saw a man in her car, ended up calling the police. And when he saw the police coming, he ran. And when they chased him down by a railroad track, and he just said, I don't know, my brain. That was always
his MO,
his excuse.
Well, you know, the fact that he was torturing an animal, a dog, and that he wasn't allowed to have one. We work with a forensic criminologist, a serial killer whisperer who speaks to serial killers consistently. And we have actually a podcast with her. But this behavior, it sounds very reminiscent of some of the serial killers that we've spoken to, where they hurt an animal and then, you know, it's like fun for them. And then they choke someone. Choking is a big thing. The fact that he attacked you because you were trying to save the dog, that's very disturbing, because I'm wondering now if Lonnie's the only victim here.
I've wondered that through the years thinking there's no way he could have gone 20 years, 30 years, 40 years without breaking the law. And as we found out, he choked a girlfriend. God only knows what he did. What I did not know then, and only recently learned, is that police stations don't always communicate. Well, back then, that was before computers.
Mm-hmm.
But I would think something he may have done in Erie, Meadville could have found out about it. Pennsylvania State Police and, different barracks, they don't necessarily share information.
Well, unless the information's there, whether or not they're looking for it, they have a reason to look for it. That's another thing. I mean, that happens
we just
today.
Found out about the rapes that he did. What, 4 or 5 years? 5 years ago.
Right. I was going to say, we gotta tell that story.
So tell us the story. We don't know what you're saying.
So
you want to tell us, Allison? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to start, and then we can tag team. So I got a message on Facebook from a woman who told me that she was the ex-wife of a man who was arrested with my father for raping 2 college girls. And I was like, what? I had never heard anything of this sort. I had never heard of a sexual charge of any kind. I just found it, I didn't know what to think about it because I couldn't believe that I wouldn't have heard that. I mean, that's a pretty serious charge. And I called my aunt and I'm like, do you know about this? And my aunt was like, no way. Go ahead.
I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. And I ended up calling Erie to see if I could get the records. And for a small fee, I said, send them all. He and a friend broke into a college apartment of 2 college girls and raped her at knife point. Oh my God. The girls were screaming and somehow attracted a cop. He went in.
They were both deaf, both the friend and
both deaf, and went in. Bud was totally naked on top of a woman with a knife laying right there at her head. You know how long he spent in jail? About 4 months? I think he was sentenced to 6 months. Now, rape back in, this was about 1970 or 71.
33 days, 33 episodes, no off switch. From the goals and the glory to the politics and the problems of the World Cup. If you want soccer analysis from a podcast that's been over-analysing the game for more than 20 years, then this is it. Join me, Max Rushton, and our expert team of soccer journalists every day of the tournament. Can England end 60 years of hurt, or will this be another year of falling just short? Probably. World Cup Daily, listen wherever you get your podcasts, or watch full episodes on YouTube.
I wrote a little song to remind you, Choice Hotels get you more of the experiences you value. The Cambria Hotel's got it all. A rooftop bar, have a ball. Cocktails up here feel just right. Is Cambria amazing? All right. Bring a date, your team, or even your mom. Book direct at choicehotels.com. See you on the roof.
Suffering from dry, tired, irritated eyes? Don't let dry eyes win. Use Sustain Pro. It hydrates, restores, and protects dry eyes for up to 12 hours. Sustain Pro. Triple action dry eye relief.
No way! A Lego set is a gift that always clicks. And clicks.
Mom, look! It's so beautiful!
And clicks. For every nature lover, choose a Lego set. A gift that always clicks.
I would assume this young girl did not want to testify.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that. And got off with that too. But no, we never knew that until a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Then
we told the police who didn't know.
I was just gonna say. So I called a meeting with the Crawford County Police, who were doing the investigation, And this crime happened in Erie County. So I called a meeting and then said, is this true? And she was like, well, I've not heard that that doesn't sound, and I had not gotten the records yet. So then I had to call her back and say, well, here it is.
Wow.
Here's the record. She sure did. Unreal. Or he sure did.
Yeah.
So we told them that he had committed that felony.
And was he married?
Violent felony.
Violent sexual felony. Was he married to Lonene at that time? Or was it
No.
before?
Before they ever met.
I don't think she ever knew.
No. I don't think so.
So when was it? 1971?
Yep.
So how old
Was
was
it
he?
71?
70 or 71. I think it was 70 maybe, and they met in 71.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how old was he at that point?
20.
Bud was born in 1949. You can do the math.
Okay, so like 21, 22.
In his 20s.
In his 20s. Well, listen, if he was doing that then, he was probably doing some other stuff even earlier than that. Because that just doesn't happen at it. And usually starts at around the age 16. All righty. So that's interesting. That's really interesting that came up then, and you guys just found out about it.
But also it goes back to what I was just saying. I mean, this behavior of hurting animals, choking the other woman, sexual assault, hurting Lonnie, killing Lonnie, getting rid of her. I mean, this behavior doesn't just happen overnight. I mean, I'm sure it sounds to me like his family probably knew more than what they were telling him.
They bailed him out. His older sister bailed him out on the rape charge.
Yep.
Wow.
Did he make up some cock and bull story that he says they were dating and it was misinterpreted as a rape with the knife against her throat?
I think he pulled the old like my brain.
Yeah.
What I was doing.
My brain. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it was the other brain that was thinking, not the
right.
Did Lonnie ever talk about him being violent with her before this, or she just never mentioned anything?
And I believe there was a long period that he wasn't. I think after the children were born, Bud, I remember when Lonnie was pregnant with Allison, we were talking about names and you know how you talk. And Bud hoped that his children would be born deaf. And I said, what an awful thing to say. And Lonnie agreed, you want the best for your child. But I think he had a resentment with the children that they were normal.
That's a deaf culture thing. That's not uncommon.
Oh.
Right.
They see deafness, many of them see deafness as like part of their culture. Like that's who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And not wanting to be deaf, they see as like disrespectful. Like, like not being part of their community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can understand.
And Allison had a lot on her shoulders. Being the child of deaf parents, she communicated for them. And Bud didn't like that she was and she was bossy. She's a bossy little kid.
Still am.
Yeah.
Well, I want to stop you right there. I don't even know what that looks like. A 5-year-old child who has the presence of mind and the training to be an interpreter for her deaf parents. I don't even know what that looks like. What did that look like?
Well, I guess I was probably used to it. But
you were doing it for your sister.
Yes. And when I moved to Toledo, that I'm sure left a gap. Not that I ever really thought about it, but the burden did fall to her. And you'd be surprised, talking to the gas or the electric company.
Yeah, she's a little adult.
A
little adult.
That's crazy. I don't even know what.
Please don't shut us off.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, you're an educator. I mean, what are you doing at 5 years old? The kids now, are they learning their ABCs, or are they learning
letters and sounds?
Exactly. They're not learning complex sign language communication.
Yeah.
Or calling the electric company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big burden on her. But the one thing that struck me is when Lonnie said to you, Glene, that you made him mad. So that's why he choked you. That is the exact sentence of victims of abuse. We've heard this so many times where they're so scared to like rock the boat because they don't know what's going to happen if they do. So the fact that she said that to you, I think it was self-preservation for herself.
I felt totally betrayed. Surprised. Like I said, I thought she would choose me over her husband. Go figure. But I wasn't very old.
Most likely she was scared.
Yes. Yes.
Plus there's kids.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
She doesn't know what he's going to do when you leave. People don't just say you made him do that. That's behavior that's self-preservation right there.
Yes. Yes.
But for you,
I'm sure whatever was going on was escalating. She was getting more and more fed up.
Did she mention to anyone in the family that she wanted to leave, or that she had a plan, or she was thinking about it?
Only at the very end.
Talk about you two's plan, like how you were going to raise us together.
Oh, what we had hoped. Bud worked at Teledyne Penn Union, and there's a Teledyne here in Toledo. So we thought Bud and Lonnie and the kids would move here. My uncle ran a chain of restaurants, and he had told Lonnie, well, then when Lonnie was wanting to leave Bud, my uncle said he'd hire Lonnie in a minute. She was very good in math, and he figured she would help with keeping the books and scheduling and things like that. And that we would raise, Lonnie and I made a pact when my little sister died. Pretty much that if I were to die, she would take Jason. And if she were to die, I would take Allison and Aaron. And, we were very happy thinking that she would move here. But that never happened.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little bit about the bossy one over here, Allison. So when you realized, prior to her being rescued by her teacher, how worried were you about both her and Aaron and what was going to become of them?
Oh, very worried. And I pretty much had to play peacekeeper. I didn't want to get on the bad side of Bud because, number one, he would keep the kids away from me. And I didn't ever want the kids him to take out his anger on me. But my parents weren't so lucky. Bud would have nothing to do with my mother or my father because they broke. That's what he kept saying is you broke into my apartment.
Wow. That's horrible. That's horrible.
I can't even imagine what your parents went through. I mean, when they were searching for your sister and Bud was just sitting there, what did your family do?
Kept searching. I had one uncle that wanted very much to go and just beat the living crap out of him.
You talked to him.
Tell me where she is.
We did.
Is
We
that
talked
Elmer
to
or
her.
Carl?
Mostly Uncle Danny, but Elmer too in his younger days. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So at what point did you guys reconnect closer, the two of you? And then tell me that first.
Well, when she got older, she pretty much wanted, I know, like to go to family reunion. I know you had gone to that. And Allison was very busy in her life. You were going on trips. She went to China, or was it Japan?
China.
and, you know, very involved in building her career and her life.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I guess, just grateful that they were all right and they grew up. You know, I used to worry they'd get into drugs or, you know, all the evils, and that never happened with either one of them, and I thank God for that.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
when did you
mind all the time that we didn't know for a fact that Lonnie was dead? I mean, that doesn't sound right, because you kind of know in your heart and in your soul that she's not living anymore, but always wanting Bud to come forth. Everyone knew that it was Bud. I don't think there was anybody that didn't. We just couldn't prove it. No body.
Exactly. No body, no crime.
You know, in January, after the snow went, you know, there were searches after searches. And also, you know, around the springtime, the hunters go out. You know, we thought with the ground, Bud could not have buried her because the ground was frozen. Could not have put her in French Creek because that was frozen also. So it was what we thought limited as to where she could be. And every year around hunting season, you know, the hunters would watch out. I know my uncles were very good at, well, everybody in the area knew that Lonnie was gone. Like I said, it's a very close-knit little community.
So when did you get roped and get wind of Allison's deep dive investigation to find out what happened to her mom?
Oh, that was before she wrote the book. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like when did you realize that Allison was kind of digging in for answers to find out with her mother, and did you know, at what point did she loop you in on what she was doing?
Oh, about 5 years ago, I think. Because she didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I think Grandma was probably still living. She was coming around asking questions and wanting to know more.
I remember you not discouraging me, but very cautiously, like, warning me or cautioning me, like, to be careful and, you know, not let it consume you and those kinds of things. And I totally knew where you were coming from. Like, I knew why you were saying that. I completely intellectually understood what you were saying, but something had switched in me where I was like, you don't understand. There's no turning back now. Like, I can't stop. Like, there is no stop at this point. And I know you were very worried about, you know, my mental health, and I remember just thinking it is going to be more of a problem for me if I stop than if I continue.
Yes. Yes. But so many times, you know, anytime, like, for instance, we thought about the house that we had lived in as a family. That would be my mom and my dad and Lonnie and Maya, was right on the other side of the church there. And we were talking about, there was a well in the basement of that home. And we talked to the police about maybe checking the well, and they did. Always looking, you know, for fibers of a navy blue pea coat or of this pink blanket that went missing. And they searched the well and basically roughly came up with nothing.
There were sometimes over the years that I feel like you were almost trying to convince yourself that he couldn't have done it. That he couldn't have, like, because you knew him. He was kind to you. There were times that he was kind to you, and you talked about, like, your horse and how he helped you take care of the horse, and
yes,
how, like, there were a lot of times that you almost looked at him like a brother. So it masked the bad behavior. Will you talk about that?
Yes, Bud was very accommodating. My friend Bonnie and I like to go. They had bands in different counties, he would take us and sit in the car and wait. You know, we would like to be groupies of these bands. And I had a horse that my father didn't really like, you know, going and getting oats and hay and that. And I would ask, and Bud didn't like doing it either because it messed up the trunk of his car. But, you know, he'd grumble about it, but come on. And and allowed Maya and I to spend the night all the time. Not once do I ever remember him telling Lonnie, you know, get your sisters out of here.
Well, that's the thing I think is the most scary about these types of people, is because they do have this dual personality where it's hard for you to really buy into the fact that they could possibly have done something so horrific, because you've seen this mask, you've seen this other side of them. You know, it's very common. We've done this a few times.
Gary Ridgway, who was the
serial killer, the Green River Killer. His family had no idea.
Yes.
No, I did.
I mean, they were literally at Christmas dinner with him, and he would leave for a little while, come back, go out, murder people, come back, and they would be like taking video with the kids.
When we were interviewing his sister-in-law, right in the middle of the interview, we had to stop the interview because she said, "I love Gary." And we're like,
what?
You got to explain. And this is a guy who brutally murdered probably
100 women.
100 women.
I mean, we're talking
murdered and raped.
So we can understand, Glene, why, you know, you would have felt like this conflicting, and plus the fact that you don't want to admit that she's gone, right? There's always that little glimmer of hope that maybe she's going to walk through the door one day. Maybe she did leave. Maybe she couldn't take it anymore. She just left. You know, you create this scenario. It's a coping mechanism. It's very, very common. We've seen it with a lot of victims in your situation. So I'm really curious. So when Allison finally got this confession out of him, what did you think?
I remember when Geibel, the detective, called, I could have fell over. I was hoping, I was placed. I had written a letter to Bud and said, what? Oh, I said I was writing a letter to Bud, and he wrote back, you know, hoping that I said that I told him that Lonnie would forgive him. We were kind of doing good cop, bad cop, and trying to tell the detective working on the case. For years, when they would interview Bud, many times they would do it without an interpreter. But, you know, a policeman would have a hard time doing a hard interview with him, having to relay to a sign language. It loses the meaning or the effect of it. But what I know talked to Geibel a lot about is that through the years, 45 years, they would, all right, Bud, we know you did it. Tell us about it. And I said, go with him. If Bud says Lonnie was a bad person, agree with him. Yes, she was bad, and that's how they solved this, I believe. Well, there were so many people on it too, a private investigator. I think it all
you're
came
right.
together.
From what they said, the private investigator even said the same thing. He would like take Bud's side in the conversation and bait him and kind of be like, "You're right."
And
you
they
know,
would never do that before.
Yeah,
I know. I'd had this conversation with him years ago. They don't want to listen, and unfortunately, I was the person that knew Bud the best. Granted, it was 40 years ago, but I'm better than nothing. And to go at him the way they were wouldn't work, because they had no reason. They couldn't arrest him. He knew that. So the way to get around it was to sympathize with him. Poor you, Bud. Poor you. Yeah, your brain and your bad wife up and left you with kids. God, that's a country song, you know?
I feel like I was the opposite of that, in that, like, I always thought he did it. I had to be on my best behavior, and I always was a good kid, but I also I was with him when he was in public and being buddy and being friends to everybody and a joker and trying to, schmooze people. But I lived the real him.
Right.
And there was never a time that, every now and then I'd be like, could it be true that she's out there? And I would pray that she'd come rescue us. But I never really believed that he didn't do it. I never did. And even when I tried to convince myself maybe she's out there and she's going to rescue, I always came back to like his violence, and that the positive side of him was never anything like behind closed doors that we saw. It was manipulation and, so many other things that other people saw. Like the part that you tell about like him being friendly and being willing to take you places and all those things. Like I almost feel like after you, and maybe this is true, but after you commit a crime like he did something change altogether? Because he was never the doting dad. Like that didn't happen. But I hear stories like from you, that he, was a proud dad, but I didn't grow up feeling that or seeing that or experiencing that. Maybe something just, I don't know.
I think year by year, as you kids got older, it was harder because as you got older, you're hearing people. So you're in a different world.
About that. Yeah.
So,
we're the enemy.
I used to worry myself sick that you would do something to piss him off. And therefore, and therefore be hurt.
Yeah. Terrifying. Terrifying.
Yes.
Wow.
It's really hard when you don't know where someone is. I remember years laying in bed where I'm nice and warm and picturing her out in the cold. It's just, you do mind games. And I never wanted that for Allison. You said when I really thought she needs to get her education, get her life together, because this was like beating a dead horse, nothing was coming of it. But after she got older and more secure in life and ready, that's when it happened.
Exactly. It was a miracle.
Absolutely. Wow.
Do you think I think we can all answer this question. I don't think if Alice didn't push the way she did, we would have never find out what happened to your sister.
No. And I also think at the time he was just he had nowhere to go, no friends, no family, nowhere to go. And maybe this was part of his retirement plan.
Was the best option.
Yeah. This way he's in jail. He's probably getting treated decently.
Yeah.
Don't have to eat 3 meals a day.
What do you think is going to happen? Because it seems like, we've been following Allison's journey with the court system here. She went back there recently and was hoping to have some decisions made. And it sounds like, his defense, his public defender, is doing some kind of interesting things. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know what the interesting things are other than, do you mean
the whole writ of habeas corpus thing?
Exactly. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt by phrasing it that way, but it sounds like they're, throwing a writ of habeas corpus is when you have someone who's confessed 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
We still have to prove that he did it, and that's again hard to do without a body. He could change his mind in a heartbeat and say, spring's coming. I think I'll just say my brain, I don't know why I confessed. I was pressured. Yeah, I don't know what he would do. I don't see that happening. The man is 76 years old now.
Well, maybe.
Well, I don't think Allison's going to let him off the hook.
No.
Not
a chance.
And we're going to do our best to kind of promote it as much as possible, because I just think it's, at this point,
people have been thrown in jail for less. Like,
way less.
I had a friend who was forced at 18 to write a confession that he killed his parents, and he did not. He spent 18 years in prison, and then they found the murder weapon that belonged to his father's business partner. So the fact that he has confessed 3 times and they're still having a problem with it, that's suspicious to me.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Hopefully
I'm
they're
very
just doing their
anxious
due
to hear.
diligence so they don't get an appeal.
Pardon?
I hope they're just doing their due diligence so they don't get an appeal.
Yes. I don't see that happening, but you never know.
Yeah.
You never know with him.
Well, let's finish on a bit. How amazing has your niece turned out after being through all of this craziness?
She's a wonderful, very smart person, a wonderful mother. She gives her children so many life experiences. I don't know how she does it.
How proud do you think your sister would be of her daughter?
Oh, very, very proud.
Oh.
Very proud.
The other day, we were talking about this interview, and you said you were really nervous. And, I just said they're very chill. They're comfortable people. It's just like a conversation, and you said, I'm just so emotional these days. And I said, duh, you're grieving.
Yeah.
And you said to me, this is what my sister would say to me. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of said something like shit or get off the pot,
Oh, that too.
And right then I thought that's something Lonnie would have said. And when you said that, I said, okay, when?
Well, thank you so much, Glene. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely.
Such a great
Well, thank you
insight
for doing
into
this.
Lonnie and
Absolutely.
all of this. It's just our hearts break for you guys. It's
Yeah.
really tragic what you guys have been through, but hopefully there is some end in sight now.
Light is at the end.
Yes. Yes.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Monday, AI agents took over my work. And I absolutely love it. Chasing deadlines, writing status reports, updating stakeholders. Agents handle the daily grind now. They live inside Monday.com, so they see the full picture. My work, my team, the whole company. And I don't have to worry about the data. It's safe, which means I'm free to focus on the big stuff, knowing everything runs smoothly in the background. It's completely shifted the way we work. Create your own AI agent in minutes on Monday.com.